When a camera catches Tylor Chase sleeping on the streets of California wearing tattered clothes, his mother's warning to concerned fans revealed something nobody expected about money, mental health, and what really happens when child stars vanish from our screens. This isn't just another sad celebrity story. What happened next exposed the dark reality behind those cheerful Nickelodeon credits, and the truth about his situation is far more complicated than anyone realized. The videos started appearing across social media platforms just months ago, and they hit fans like a freight train. There he was, Tylor Chase, the same kid who made millions laugh as Martin Qwerly on Ned's Declassified school survival guide, now unrecognizable on the streets of Riverside in Los Angeles. The contrast was jarring. In the show, Chase played the fast-talking genius with endless enthusiasm, always ready with a solution to middle school problems. But the man in these viral clips looked worn down, older than his 36 years, dressed in ripped jeans and a faded shirt. When someone recognized him and asked if he was really the actor from that beloved Nickelodeon series, you confirmed it quietly, almost hesitantly. That simple confirmation sparked a wildfire of reactions online. Fans who grew up watching Ned's Declassified between 2004 and 2007 couldn't believe what they were seeing. The show had been a staple of childhood television for an entire generation, and Martin Qwerly was one of those characters that stuck with people. Now, seeing Chase in such a vulnerable state brought back all those memories while simultaneously shattering them. Comments flooded in expressing shock, heartbreak, and anger. People wanted to know how this could happen. How does someone go from television stardom to sleeping on sidewalks? The question everyone kept asking was even more pointed. What does Nickelodeon do to these kids? But here's where the story takes its first unexpected turn. An influencer named Citlali Wilson, who goes by Let Hall Alley online, had actually encountered Chase in Los Angeles back in September. She posted about meeting him, and her video exploded with nearly 4 million views. The response was immediate and overwhelming. People wanted to help. They demanded action. Wilson decided to set up a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for Chase, hoping to get him off the streets and give him a fresh start. The goal seemed straightforward: provide housing, food, basic necessities, and resources to help him rebuild his life. Donations poured in, and the campaign quickly raised over $1,200. Wilson documented her efforts in a series of follow-up videos. She showed herself shopping for Chase, buying him clothes and the Doc Martens boots he specifically requested. In one particularly emotional clip, she even washed his hair on the sidewalk, leaning over him with a plastic water bottle, lathering and rinsing right there in the open street. When Chase received the bags of new clothing, he appeared visibly moved. He clasped his hands together, offering thanks repeatedly. "Thank you so much. These are so pretty," he said as he unwrapped each gift. The videos showed the trio smiling together for photos, and Wilson's supporters praised her for bringing dignity to someone clearly struggling. But then, something happened that nobody saw coming. The GoFundMe was suddenly shut down. The fundraiser that promised housing and long-term support had delivered a street-side makeover instead. While the intentions seemed genuine, the execution raised questions. Had $1,200 really been spent on clothes and a sidewalk hair wash when donors thought they were funding housing? The criticism started rolling in alongside the praise. Some people applauded Wilson for doing something when others did nothing, but others pointed out the massive gap between what was promised and what was delivered. The real bombshell came when Wilson revealed why the fundraiser ended so abruptly. Someone who personally knew Chase had reached out to her privately. According to messages Wilson shared publicly, this person warned her that financial aid without proper guidance could be seriously risky. The message was direct and concerning. Tylor needs medical attention, not money. He refuses help. Money would not benefit him. He's been given several phones but loses them within a day or two. He can't manage money or medications by himself. The person reaching out was reportedly Chase's own mother, and her intervention completely changed the narrative surrounding his situation. This revelation forced everyone to confront a much harder truth. Chase's homelessness wasn't simply about lack of funds or housing. Mental health was playing a significant role in his decline. Years earlier, Chase had openly discussed struggling with bipolar disorder. A resurfaced video from 2015 shows him sharing poetry about his mental health challenges, talking about the pain he experienced when nobody came to his shows anymore. The emotional toll of losing his place in the entertainment industry had clearly affected him deeply. For a child actor, the transition into adulthood can be brutal. Roles disappear, recognition fades. The identity built around applause and validation suddenly has no foundation. For Chase, this loss appears to have collided with untreated or inconsistently managed mental illness, creating a perfect storm that made stability increasingly impossible to maintain. The situation caught the attention of Chase's former Ned's Declassified co-stars, who now host a podcast together. Devon Werkheiser, Daniel Curtis Lee, and Lindsey Shaw had played the three main characters on the show, and they've been using their podcast to discuss behind-the-scenes moments and give commentary on old episodes. When news of Chase's homelessness reached them, they addressed it directly. Curtis Lee referred to Chase as a dear friend and expressed how powerless he felt about the situation. His reaction was raw and honest. When he first saw the videos, he admitted feeling angry because someone was putting a camera in Chase's face during his hardest times. He spoke about the difficulty of processing it all, the helplessness of not knowing how to genuinely help. They emphasized they were doing what they could to support their old friend, but their comments also highlighted a painful reality. Even people who know and care about Chase are struggling to figure out how to effectively help him. This brings up the larger conversation that Chase's story has reignited about child actors and the entertainment industry's responsibility toward them. The pattern is disturbingly familiar. We've seen it play out with numerous former child stars over the years. Young performers get thrust into adult settings, dealing with rigorous schedules and intense public scrutiny while their brains are still developing. They experience fame and financial success at an age when most kids are worried about homework and friendships. Then, when the show ends and the cameras stop rolling, they're expected to navigate normal life with none of the tools to do so. The transition is jarring, and the support systems are often non-existent or inadequate. Residual checks from shows like Ned's Declassified would be minimal, especially for supporting characters. These aren't the kind of payouts that set someone up for life. They're small, occasional amounts that might help with bills, but certainly won't cover housing or provide long-term stability. So when the work dries up, as it inevitably does for most child actors, they're left without the safety net that might have been there if they'd had a normal childhood. Add mental health challenges into that mix, and the outcome can be devastating. Chase's story isn't unique in that sense. It's part of a broader pattern that keeps repeating because the industry hasn't figured out how to adequately protect and support young performers once their commercial value expires. The public reaction to Chase's situation has been layered and complex. There's genuine sympathy and a desire to help, as evidenced by the rapid fundraising response. But there's also frustration and anger directed at the system that creates these situations. People question why Nickelodeon or the production companies behind these shows don't have better support structures in place. Why isn't there mandatory mental health care? Why aren't there financial literacy programs and career transition assistance built into contracts for child performers? The answer, unfortunately, is that the entertainment industry has historically prioritized profit over long-term well-being. Children make money for networks and studios, but once they age out of their roles, they become someone else's problem. Some fans have also wrestled with the ethics of filming Chase in his current state. While Wilson's videos brought attention to his situation and sparked donations, they also put his struggle on display for millions of people to consume. The videos showing him sleeping on the street, washing his hair on a sidewalk, receiving charity, all of these moments captured his vulnerability in a very public way. Some commenters expressed discomfort with this approach, arguing that he looked uncomfortable being filmed and that genuine help could have happened off camera. Others defended the documentation, suggesting that without those viral videos, nobody would have known about Chase's situation or tried to help at all. It's a complicated balance between raising awareness and respecting dignity, and there's no clear answer about where that line should be drawn. The most recent videos from December show that Chase was still living on the streets at year's end. Despite all the attention, the fundraising, the concern from former co-stars, and the public outcry, his situation hadn't fundamentally changed. He remains unhoused, apparently still struggling with the same mental health challenges that contributed to his homelessness in the first place. This reality underscores what his mother had tried to communicate to Wilson. Money alone wasn't going to solve this. Chase's situation requires sustained professional intervention. He needs mental health treatment, medication management, housing with support services, and probably a long-term care plan that addresses the root causes of his instability, rather than just the symptoms. The question of what comes next for Tylor Chase remains unanswered. His story isn't a Hollywood redemption arc with a neat resolution. It's messy, ongoing, and uncertain. There's no guarantee of a comeback or a dramatic rescue. What we're watching unfold is the reality faced by thousands of people experiencing homelessness across the country, with the added layer of public recognition because Chase was once famous. His journey forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about what we owe to the people who entertained us as children. When the applause stops, who bears responsibility for their well-being? How many other familiar faces from our childhood televisions are living similar unseen struggles? And what does it say about our values as a society that we can enjoy someone's work for years, but then watch them fall through the cracks when they need support? The entertainment industry's response to these questions has been largely inadequate. While there have been some improvements in protections for child actors, including requirements for set teachers and limits on working hours, the long-term support infrastructure remains weak. Many former child actors have spoken out about the challenges they faced transitioning to adulthood, the lack of preparation for life after fame, and the psychological impact of growing up in the spotlight. Chase's story is one more data point in a pattern that's been established for decades. It's a pattern that shows the cost of child stardom can be devastatingly high. As viewers process Chase's story, many are left with a sense of helplessness similar to what his former co-stars expressed. What can any individual really do to help? Donations might provide temporary relief but don't address underlying issues. Sharing videos raises awareness but also potentially exploits someone's vulnerability. Calling for industry reform is necessary but feels distant from the immediate crisis. The reality is that helping someone in Chase's situation requires coordinated professional intervention over an extended period. It requires mental health services, housing support, medical care, and probably a team of people working together to provide the stability he needs to manage his bipolar disorder and rebuild his life. The story of Tylor Chase serves as a stark reminder that fame is fragile and that the entertainment we consume as children often comes at a cost to the people providing it. The bright lights and laughter of Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide now cast long shadows when we see what happened to one of its stars. Chase's life isn't over, and his story isn't finished, but right now it's unfolding on California's streets rather than television screens, and the script is being written by circumstances far more complex than any episode of a Nickelodeon sitcom could capture. What happens next depends on whether Chase can access the kind of sustained, comprehensive help he needs, and whether the people around him can figure out how to provide it effectively. The broader conversation sparked by his situation needs to continue. We need to keep asking these hard questions about child actors, mental health support, and industry responsibility. We need to push for better protections and support systems that extend beyond the years when young performers are profitable. And we need to recognize that stories like Chase's aren't isolated incidents, but symptoms of systemic failures that affect vulnerable people across many industries. The attention his case has received is both a blessing and a curse. It's brought support and resources, but also turned his personal struggle into public spectacle. Finding the right balance, respecting his dignity while advocating for his needs, remains the challenge for everyone watching this story unfold. What's certain is that Tylor Chase deserves better than what he's experienced, and so do all the other former child stars whose stories we haven't heard yet because they haven't gone viral.